Hello, everyone. Hiya, 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 everybody.
How many people waited?
Audio and video check. The data's not up yet.
Well, I would think it would say a number of people waiting, but
No,
I
it
don't know.
doesn't.
Yeah, I agree, Honey Bunny. That's why my initial thoughts are to go up above and rappel down and try getting some sampling that way. Here's kind of the situation. Here, go ahead to the whiteboard, little one.
Okay, this is what we got.
Yeah. Not a super steep, but a fairly steep
Hi,
hillside.
John.
Cut here. And that shaft is here. And this has sloughed off where it's kind of trying to cave in the collar. So possibly this material up above is the interesting zone, so to speak. So find a tree, fell down. I could sample this safely. Really didn't. Could you even see what kind of rocks were on the far side of the shaft, little one? I didn't really notice.
No, I did not take a close look.
Neither did I.
I didn't go very close.
And so I could sample this without too much difficulty. The other possibility is to dig just a small hand pit right there to see if I could, again, get into the same theoretical zone. Okay? So, I don't know. The fact that this, I have never seen in this area a fully timbered shaft, so I'm presuming that this material here is fairly crumbling. I'm also guessing because this shaft was wide, I don't know, 8 to 10 feet. Okay, 8 to 10 feet. Now that is more that people would normally use just to get a shaft. Okay? A normal shaft would be in the neighborhood of 5 or 6 foot square. Or if you're running a dual compartment shaft, this might be like 5 feet here, 5, 5 for a total of 10. Something like that is a more normal shaft, because as general principle, you don't want to dig anything more than you have to get what you need done, because it's just extra effort. So my hypothesis is at this point, they were actually digging in ore. And therefore, the wider it is, the more ore you're getting. And so that's my thought. It would be big enough, Honey Bunny, but you don't need that to go down 15 feet. And why did they build it so close to this high wall? If you were going to put in hoisting equipment stuff, you would have thought they'd put more space in here so that it wouldn't be under constant threat of collapse. I don't know. But it certainly deserves some sampling. Now, there was a rock, a little quartz rock here, that we picked up, and that panned out at about 1/10 of an ounce to the ton.
Hi, Birdman Bill.
Cockatoo Birdman, huh? Okay.
Yeah. Hi, Birdman Bill.
Got it. Hi, Bill. So anyhow, that little quartz rock was low-grade ore. This soil over here was running, I don't know, 0.02, 0.03 ounces per ton cannibal. These were relatively good-sized flakes. I mean, you know, the Flower Gold Wizards would say they were pretty small, but for me, it was fairly coarse for
They
hard
were
rock.
big compared to what we usually see.
Yeah. So let's say that was interesting. This sample that I took off the surface here came up 0. So it just, you know, I was kind of hoping that this area was where they were throwing the stuff from here for hauling it off, but I have no idea.
I think you got comment.
It was just a guess. Hey, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
So, let's say,
Now, there's a person to ask if he's ever seen a fully timbered shaft.
He already told me he has.
No.
Okay? He commented on this video. See, if somebody would actually look at the videos and the comments on the
I never
YouTube
even get notification for 2 or 3 days. Okay?
So anyhow, I say, my thought is it's an awfully big shaft just for a shaft. It's entirely timbered, which is unusual. And so my guess is they were sinking in ore, but that's just a guess.
Well, it would match with what we know of the high-grade ore in the area anecdotally.
Anecdotally, we've been told by somebody who's been in the area for a substantial period of time that the high-grade ore in this area used to be so soft that you would pick and shovel it.
Yeah, you could not blast it, and the reports we saw bore that out.
You know, so that's entirely possible.
Hi, David.
We need to do some more investigating there. The divots in the hillside, it looked pretty clear to me from a side view. I think my walking up did a pretty good job of showing side view. Basically, they taken out chunks like this, and the dumps from the stuff above pretty much at the top of the divots that were taken out. And about the third one in here that was actually flat. So that leads me to believe that area that we saw down at the very bottom of this looked to me like a collapsed adit opening. So I suspect there's a tunnel in here. And they doped up and this collapsed on it. That's my guess. But we need to take more time to look at that. Hey, wage slave. Hey, Sarah. I got your rocks today. You'll see right here, it's on the list to go through. I haven't had much time to look at them, but I'll go through them later in the program here. So anyhow, the plan is to get back to this and find one of these spaces here that looks to have very little fluff on it, that I might be able to clean up enough to see the actual structure. It looks to me like they were following a structure up the hill.
Hi, Jeff. Jeff Kablock is here.
Hey, Jeff. How's it going? Sorry to hear you're not going to make it here this year. We were looking forward to that. So, anyhow, my guess is that they were basically exploring ahead of the tunnel, trying to see the width and the approximate grade of the structure while they were advancing the tunnel and mining stuff out underneath. That's my guess. Okay. So this is what we think is happening there. This one is a named mine. We do not have any production or geologic information on that mine. The other stuff that we showed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that sucks.
Well, you can express to them my extreme disappointment at their productivity. I disapprove.
The goddess disapproves.
That's worse.
Oh, that's totally worse.
But anyhow, so
I am the finder of shafts.
So we're going to have to take some more sampling now. What's really interesting about this, I thought from a top view, really going out in scale, there's a road here, and this is the top of the mountain over here. There was that one adit and the trench, the collapse thing over here. We went up that road, and then these roads connect in. These are heavily overgrown. So we took the quad, ran up, parked it here, walked down this road. You didn't see doodly or video from up here, but there was an area where they'd done some digging. And then this road here just basically connected in like that, and there was a collapse right there.
Jeff left you.
You betcha, I'm thinking. And so what we had to do.
Jeff says your cribbing looks to 1880s or so.
Really? Okay. Interesting. The mine on the top of the hill over here, I have production records from the 1880s. Okay. It did really nice. It was getting some 100 ounce to the ton ore back in the 1880s. That would be not 100 ounce. $100 to the ton, so 5 ounces. Anyhow, to get to the divots, you're like here.
Chris says, good evening. I probably won't be here all night. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Chris. We had to hike side hill. Significant upgrade. It's about 13% overall grade, too. Get to these divots. And then from here, went up draw, and that road that we were on that was heavily overgrown, it goes top of the adits here where there appears to be a fairly large depression in the ground. Whether it's like an open pit or a sinkhole, we have no idea. We haven't been there yet.
Said, gotta go.
But anyhow, so again, the timber shaft is down here. Sample that better. And then we need to wend our way along this road. Now, the part that we were on was essentially straight and flat. Okay? From the timber shaft area, this direction, it was straight and flat. And the problem was it was overgrown. And so we'll need to bushwhack our way to that hole in the surface. And before we head back there, I need to check and see. It might be easier from here.
You got
to go back there.
Hiya, Red Wing.
Not that I know of, Wage Slave. I don't think it would. I don't think it's available. We may have LiDAR now. They were working on it. Did you find sulfides or not? I didn't see any sulfides in anything I was looking at. Although this trench here, dump at the end, appeared to have about about 0.05 of an ounce to the ton. They were a gray flake that I presume are electrum. Okay, they panned density pretty similar to gold, but they were definitely gray. So I presume they're electrum. And none of these mines that I know right in here, do any of my records show sulfides? But over there, there's a much larger mine than these little ones here, and it did have some sulfides in it.
And that larger one also had a heck of a lot of silver.
Yeah, it had a lot of silver. So, we have more days of exploring to do here and sampling.
Jeff says for lead is a pound.
Okay.
Gray but malleable.
Looked like it. Yes, Chris. Also very dense. Could be
lead.
Could be lead, but
Don't have any sign of lead up.
yeah, I say it's one of those things that right on surface. So say we got a lot more work to do. This is going to be a lot of hiking. This is going to be a lot of bushwhacking. And there's going to be a fair amount of digging in my future, I think, trying to figure out, get some samples of the elusive and mythical mineralized zone in place. So we shall see what we shall see. Yeah, the big one down there had lead, silver, gold ore. Yep. Hey, Ricky. So that's the thing. Now, one thing I would like to see, and probably Jeff is, and Dave are more likely. Could you call up the picture of the plant in question, little one?
Okay, give me a minute. Of course, you're doing talking.
So, one of the annoying things that we run into is in those areas of the old access roads that have a fair amount of moisture in them, there is a plant.
I'm looking for the picture.
It'll be under A, water plant.
In raw video or where?
Raw video. Where I put everything so it's easy to find. Anyhow.
A water bush.
Yeah, that'll be it. Anyhow, so
I'm working on the issue.
This plant grows, let's say where it's fairly moist. They can get up 6 or 7 foot tall, and they are bushy as opposed to tree-y.
I am going to get it on that screen in just a second, folks. Give me a minute here.
Okay.
Since he's being a yo-yo. Okay.
I should be able to do that.
This is our plant. Email contact Kodak. Yeah. Okay. Hi, Ricky. Ricky C is here. And contacts here.
Yeah.
Booty gold, all the activity. Yeah, there is started up. Bottom of. Okay, so this bush here. It is my assumption we're probably looking at some variety of aspen or birch based on...
I mean alder.
Alder or birch. Based on, A, it likes being in wet areas with disturbed soil and it grows like a dang weed. B, it has these little tiny things that look like pine cones that grow on it where the flowers would be. Which are something I have seen on alder.
Anyhow, so does anyone have a positive identification on that plant? As you can see, this is a road that we're looking down.
Yeah, that's a road.
What
passes for a road in this case?
If it wasn't for these bushes, this tree and this tree would be the only thing in this you're seeing in our way. It's these stupid bushes.
Those stupid bushes, if you stood them up, would probably be about 8 feet tall, but they tend to lay
flat. Yeah,
they tend to lay flat or curve over.
Yeah.
And they're a very flexible wood. The bark on the stems is a very fine grained bark. Definitely not hazelnut, I can tell you that. Ain't no nuts on these fuckers.
Yeah.
I'm thinking some kind of alder because they got those little tiny pine cones. I didn't get any in this picture.
Yeah.
But they got those little tiny things. I suppose you call them seeds or flowers or whatever the hell they are.
Yeah, kind of hard to tell. I'm no botanist. But anyhow, those things are a real pain in the butt. At least they don't have thorns. Although they do have the occasional biting insects hiding in them.
Yeah, this is what they look like fairly close up.
Yeah. Anyone got a positive ID on those rascals?
I'm looking at the darn cat thing again.
There we go now.
I did Google image search wave slave, and every time I do it, it gives me a different definition because there's too much stupid junk in this picture for the computer to get out. So next time we're up there, I will get a decent picture and do an image search that works. Because I keep getting either hornbeams or some form of alder or something else that generally only grows on the East Coast that's in the same kind of family.
Yep. So anyhow, it ain't Mary Jane, I'll tell you. But anyhow, so that is basically what the road looks like ahead of us. And I'm not sure. I don't have the thing handy here. But I think we got it like another 200 or 300 yards of road to traverse. They don't look very pointed to me.
No, they're not. They're not 5-pointed leaves at all. The leaves are very much birch or alder shaped.
Yeah, I mean, it's those leaves that are right in the very front there.
Yeah, and that definitely isn't weed. I haven't seen anybody growing fake weed. I haven't seen anybody growing illegal weed up here yet.
No.
Well, I'm thinking more alder than birch personally, Honey Bunny, because of those little tiny pine cone things. You know how full-grown alders have those little sort of, don't own a drone, Jeff. I wish I did.
Yeah. Wouldn't give a good view of the plants. But yeah, as I say, it's kind of a pain in the butt when you want to try and traverse what would otherwise be pretty simple stuff. Say that's a dozer road there. It's flat, it's straight, with the exception of the pine trees.
It is a little narrower than the other road, but
yeah, it wouldn't be too hard to traverse if it wasn't for those things getting thick at places. And so plants make stuff that can dissolve gold. I think to a slight extent they can, wage slave, but not to any significant extent that I'm aware of. They can incorporate it into their biomass, so some plants can be used as kind of bioconcentrators to test to see if you've got gold in the root zone, but I don't know any of the details.
Well, anyway, I'll get it back on our regular stuff.
So,
hold on, guys. I'm getting it back on regular stuff so y'all can talk to him.
But anyhow, so
I am busy making money.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and try and do a better job next time, Honey Bunny. It wasn't our priority.
I will get better pictures, and I will get Google to identify it. Google's actually usually pretty good at that.
It was a long time. I mean, we'd been working all day long. We were over half a mile from the quad in terms of the hiking distance stuff, and so we had to bail out and get back to camp. But it was an interesting trip. We raised a lot more questions than we answered. I can tell you that.
Well, I will definitely get better pictures next time. It was not on my list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I say we shall see what we shall see.
But I'm telling you, it could be a hornbeam,
something.
a hornbeam or something like that.
I don't know.
Because Google got itself confused when I was asking it. It gave me like 4 different identifications. Because that picture is very confusing. And I get that. Okay. So I'm going to get some better pictures. I was more interested in trying to get my feet to stop writing checks that my poor little body can't cash, you know.
So anyhow.
Because he can tell you. When I got that feeling, I just took one look at the end of the road that I saw, and I was like, seriously? No.
So, anyhow, let's say, this is the road we were on. We got quite a ways to go. And then, let's say, from the satellite, those divots going up the hill are they're not even all discernible. But this thing sure was. And this road is amazingly straight and flat now. Somewhere on this hillside was a ditch we ran into that went quite a ways too. And I'm wondering if maybe from this point here towards there, they dug an exploration ditch trying to see if they could find any more ore zones. This ditch that I'm talking about here was not anywhere like this road. The road is simple. Drop off, flat, slope. The ditch was drop off, climb the other side to get out. Where we had to cross it, we had to look carefully to find a spot that we could actually cross that ditch.
That was over when we were walking down that part of the Y shape of the road where we ended up over the collapsed adit and the discovery.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
I know. I'm saying the actual big trench that you're thinking of is back over there.
I think we ran into it in this general area here, but I don't know for sure that this road continues on as a road to this divot. Call it the big divot. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a pit. I don't know if it's a collapse.
Jeff Kablock wants to know if that group of mines has a name. Ricky C says, I'm not sure. It does look like ash. Well, I will say this, Ricky. I have never seen whether ash grows as a seed pod, a little group of 3 things that look like mini pine cones. I mean, literally, that's what they look like. It's a little triple
we'll
thing
get
of
pictures.
mini pine cones. But I will have pictures.
Yeah, well,
next time.
Jeff, it does have a name. I'm not at liberty to give it publicly. Yep. We've done a pretty thorough search, and that particular mine, we can't find much details except it's mentioned as one in a series of 5 mines there, as just the one on the west end. The next one over, it's got some numbers that are really nice. The next one over has some numbers that are interesting but not terribly definitive, and there's no adit visible now or anything like that. And the next one over also, we don't have any.
David, I'm currently at the point where I would not mind having a mule or 2, most definitely. Even though I do consider mules to be misbegotten creatures, they would come in very handy.
I don't think the mules would work very well there.
No, we'd have to get things cleared. But I'm saying, once we have a path,
we have a
the
path,
Forest Service can't say anything about mules.
Yeah, it's the clearing the path they got a problem with. Yeah.
Well, with mules, we wouldn't clear much.
Yeah, I understand, Jeff. I say it's this area. There's a clear trend. You got 5 mines lined up in a line, and The only one we have really good data is that one right there, the next one over, and that was running 5 ounce to the ton. Okay. And in 4 years, 9,000 ounces were produced back in the 1800s, 1880. The next one over, we have some information, and it was running apparently around half an ounce per ton. Okay. Send a picture to what with the plants, Dave?
Oh, well,
Yeah, this is new ground. It's not terribly far from other stuff we've done, but right now on the areas we've thoroughly explored, we don't have any definitive profitable ore available for immediate exploitation that we know of. Okay, Dave, we'll see what we can do.
there may even be some down
But-
in Spring Meadow.
We're waiting on an solution assay that was supposed to be done today, to see this last batch we put in from Montana B, what the grade is on it roughly, to see whether or not we should try reopening and starting to continue the exploitation there. So we shall just have to see what we shall see. And yeah, kind of a pain in the butt.
Well, the biggest problem with that place up there, mules would be perfectly fine on the pickup stick part of the hill, where we don't have those crazy, where we have those stupid bushes on the road.
How do mules get over down trees?
Oh, I said, most of them are.
Well, yeah, but I
You
mean,
can step right over any of those that are on the ground. They're not stupid.
I don't know.
They're stubborn.
But anyhow, hey, Jean-Francois. Sarah, are you still here? I can start discussing your rocks, but I want to make sure you're still watching. Sarah sent me some rocks, and for whatever reasons, there's a lot of different samples, and they're all pretty small. So that's okay, good. That presents certain
Pigs.
limitations.
Well, if I had any pigs wage slave, I certainly would. There are no acorns up there, unfortunately. Pigs
Well,
love acorns.
unfortunately, the Forest Service has an issue with the chainsaws, Kodak. That's one of the problems.
The Forest Service has an issue with everything.
Exactly.
The Forest Service is an issue. For reasons, people.
Yeah. So,
I
mean,
tried to send anything I wasn't sure about, had to keep it underweight. It's kind of crazy. Some of it I crushed up.
So anyhow, as a general rule, the easiest thing to do, here's a rock, okay? And get my loop illuminated out. I think I need to put more batteries in this. Anyhow, this is like a calcite coating on this side here. This is a fresh face, nice and clean. And
Always nice to have a fresh.
getting some crystal faces that are flashing at me. It's a fairly coarse texture, so that would either mean an igneous intrusive or hydrothermal that's taken time for crystals to grow. I'm taking a look and I'm going with hydrothermal here. And especially right there, I don't think you'll probably be able to see it, but there's a a goethite pseudomorph there after pyrite. It's clearly a nice cubic structure there. And so my interpretation, this is hydrothermal. And ideally, what I would do, pet beaver? No, I don't, Chris. It'd be a lot of work too. If they've just
No running creek up there for him to live in, unfortunately.
yeah. Well, let's say chainsaw would work fine if the freaking Forest Service would not get all grumpy about things.
Well, those bushes are thin enough. We should be able to get away with flop. Except for the fact that, of course, we can't do it. So my plan is lots of twine, and we'll kind of weave them together like baskets and tie them back. Then the Forest Service can't say squat.
Want to bet? Twine? That's an
Okay, so we leave the twine out. But if I weave them like baskets, the Forest Service can't say shit.
Yep. But anyhow, what I would usually do in a situation like that, Sarah, is I would crush this and pan this so that I could see what the heavies look like. The heavies are usually what you're interested in our case. Let's say, clearly I'm seeing some goethite, which is simply a fancy name for oxidized iron pyrite. Goethite.
Some people say goethite.
And some people call it limonite. Limonite is one of the constituents of goethite. But anyhow, so what we're looking at here had iron pyrite in it that has now weathered out and turned into iron oxides, which is a good possible indicator of gold. I say, what I would generally do is crush them up and pan them. That's exactly what I did today with the 9 samples that we took wandering about here. They weren't nearly as big as I liked them to be because we had to pack them out. And yeah, it's all heavy, Sarah. That's for sure. We also, on this road here, when we walked down here and wound up there and had to walk all the way back up to the quad, on the way up, we were picking up any rocks with significant amounts of quartz in it, putting them in little piles on the way up. And then on the way back, when we came down with the quad, Eva was driving the quad while I was throwing rocks in the basket. So we have a fairly large sample now of miscellaneous
road.
You know, and it's not of any particular structure, but it might be kind of representative of the quartz in this general area. It's over 100 pounds of rock. But I didn't crush that today. I crushed the smaller samples and panned them. I'm probably going to take a couple of your samples, Sarah, and probably, where the heck is the Mad Max? Is that out at the ranch?
I think the Mad Max is out at the ranch.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to see, because the RC46 is really good at crushing relatively small samples. You know, from 5 to 50 pounds, it works pretty good. Something this small, you tend to get a lot of cross-contamination. What, little one?
Chris is saying it sounds like the Clear Lake area, and Sarah says there's arsenic and all kinds of stuff in the soil.
Yeah. And so there's other rocks down here.
Well, there are some pyrites in one of them. There are some sulfides
that show similar things. As Eva said, there's some place where you can actually see pyrites.
Might be arsenic.
And so we're looking to see how to prep this and pan it, and we'll see what we can ascertain from this. There was one set of rocks here. Yeah, right here.
Well, the pyrites in there did not look. The ones that I saw on that rock I was looking at did not look like iron pyrite. They definitely weren't calca. I think it's
Here you got some malachite in here. Not a whole lot. It's not really massive malachite. But yeah, it's got copper in this one here. So these are the kind of rocks that would be interesting. And one thing that has really paid me dividends over the years is that RC46, because it allows me to take a half a bucket of rock, turn it into sand, and pan a sample quick. I mean, I was out there for the little over 2 hours. Oh, by the way, I need to write my hours down too. Little over 2 hours, and I crushed and panned 9 samples. By the way, I also got the preg pond pumped back up onto the pad and got the pad cover put on. Okay.
well, yeah, Wage Slave. Of course, I was right about silver. I know what's going on with my silver, and yeah, Sarah says there's a lot of garlicky, stinky smell when she rusticates stuff.
Yeah.
So, because those pyrites looked to me, they look like they could likely be arsenic.
It's hard to tell. Most of them seem to have more of a yellow color than arsenal pyrite. Arsenal pyrite is pretty silver color.
Oh, I saw a few that were quite silvery,
me.
and they were the wrong shape for iron pyrite.
Wouldn't be surprising at all. Yeah, the RC46, it's made by Keen Engineering.
Out in California.
It's excessive for the regular backyard person because it's simply designed as a small production crusher. And it has a 4x6 jaw crusher over a set of 6x6 rolls. And it will slurp rock up at the rate of 500 to 1,000 pounds an hour and turn it into sand. You can take rocks as big as your fist, and there's a fist down there. As big as your fist, throw them in the jaw crusher, it comes out sand.
And I can run it fairly.
Yeah. So it's a very handy thing. Unfortunately, they're really expensive, and you need to tow it around. But for a smaller person such as you, Sarah, at the stage you're at, K&M makes a little impact mill, little chain mill. There's other chain mills. The thing that really takes time is turning gravel into powder. That's really, really intensive, energy intensive for manual labor. They also make little called a Cobra crusher, similar stuff that go on a grinder. For what you're doing, Sarah, they might come in real handy. You can break the rocks up small enough to fit in there with just a hammer. Silver minerals can be gray also.
Yeah, and silver can turn black under certain circumstances.
That depends, Jean-Francois, on whether or not you buy them from Keen and how hard the ore is. I basically hard face my jaws so I can hard face them relatively cheaply, like less than $20 for a set of jaws to hard face. If you know someone with a plasma, computer controlled plasma cutter, or someone who's just really good hand cutting, you can take like AR500 and cut your own plates. They're just basically steel plate. The ones that come from Keen are hardened, and they cost, last I checked, like about $200 a set. And the movable jaw wears much more than the stationary jaw.
Sarah wants to know how much it
I'm
costs.
seeing that. So anyhow, an RC46, I'm not sure if Dave's still here. He just bought one with the double rolls crushers on it, and I think they're running like $14,000 now. A K&M crusher, I think, is less than 2,000. How many tons can you process between oil rolls? Between wear plate replacement, you're talking a ton or two of hard quartz. They don't last a long time. Okay, not on hard quartz. If it's softer, you're like crushing calcite, no big deal.
Wage slave question.
Okay. I really don't know wage slave. It's easy to test. So it's a very versatile machine. It I say takes rocks and turns it into sand. The rolls last vastly longer than the jaws. I'm still on my first set of rolls, so they're basically just about worn out. Dave gave me a spare set. He got his RC46 with the dual sets of rolls on it and decided he really didn't need the other set of rolls. And I think, like me, he's also using it more for the jaw crusher most of the time. Most of the time, I use mine for the jaw crusher to crush before throwing it into the Stutenroth or the Bob mill for final pulverization. And the 1/4 inch minus is fine for that. One thing you do not want to do with an RC46, the older ones had a piece of angle iron that you jam in the bottom of the rolls so that it would grind it even finer, but the wear rate on your rolls just goes through the roof. And so it's just doesn't make sense to me. Running it through twice makes more sense. And getting a separate impact mill, especially if you're going to do production, just use it as a jaw crusher. Let's say something smaller like a Cobra crusher or a K&M or something like that. That makes a lot of sense for small sampling. I believe Flower Gold Wizards has a small impact mill that he's been using. I don't know if it's a K&M, but it's like a K&M sort of thing. And they work fine for sampling. They're not good for even small production. Wear rates are high, the production is low. But for sampling, it makes good sense. Yeah, the RC46 is an excellent machine. I've only had one bearing fail on it, and that was very early on. I suspect it was, could be manufacturing defect, could have been something else, but I mean, it failed within the first, I don't know, 20, 30 hours of use, and they sent me a new bearing for free. Okay. No, Jason, I was thinking Jason from Flower Gold Wizards, not Mount Baker. Yeah, Mount Baker's, their hammer mills are pretty expensive. Yeah. Well, soldering tungsten carbide is pretty tough. Laying down a bead of hard face is a different thing. That's pretty easy to do. And
I did it. Which
yeah,
shows
yeah.
it ain't hard.
She's better at it than I am because she's got better eyes. It's not that hard, but it does help if you got eyes.
Oh, come on now. Eyes are highly overrated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Jason over there at Mount Baker builds some really great stuff for the size that it is and for what it does.
Yeah. I say that Jason at Mount Baker, they build, good stout equipment for small production scale. And as far as I know, it works fine. I haven't had any direct contact with any of his stuff, but it looks to be okay. Yeah, that's another thing too. Look in your, what do you call it? Oh, Craigslist and stuff like that. A lot of times you'll have an old miner, die or whatever, and then they're selling off their stuff.
Also, talk to your local prospecting club.
Check the prospecting clubs. That's another possibility too, Sarah, especially you being a lady. Get in touch with your local prospecting clubs. There may be somebody there that you can borrow their equipment from time to time without too much trouble. They're usually pretty happy to help out, And so for sampling, that'll work out well. For small production, the RC46, the jaw crusher works well and reasonable cost per ton if you hard face your jaws. Or, again, if you have someone that can plasma cut out a 1/4 inch AR500, it's a rectangle with 2 holes in it. Not that hard to do, especially is in the case of the movable plate, both of the holes are kind of out of the crushing zone. You don't need to have countersunk holes with hardened bolts. You can use hex heads, and that makes it simple.
Wage Slave says he likes Jason's El Cheapo kiln, but he doesn't like the shop vac.
Yeah. So, anyhow, Dave, he's got a guy down there in Butte that, they do a lot of big stuff, and so they wind up with scraps of AR and stuff like this, and he gets the plates cut quite reasonably. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he said he goes to, I think the movable jaw, I think he uses like 3/8 or 1/2 inch plate, and it gets him a tighter gap between that and the stationary jaw, and so it grinds it even finer so that he gets less wear in the impact mill. I believe that's how it is. The jaws from Keen are expensive. The rollers are even worse. I don't know what they are now, but they were $500 each. So you don't want to use those. When I'm doing samples, I'll close the rolls up. When I'm doing production, I open the rolls up and just let the stuff go right between them without any wear. Because I don't need it. I'm going to be impact milling it later anyhow. Okay. Yeah, I say the jaws are pretty simple in terms of a chain mill. If your boyfriend fabricates, you're looking at a motor, a simple belt drive, a round housing like a piece of 12-inch pipe, something like that, with a shaft that goes in there, and hang a couple of chains on it. And so yeah, if he looks at a K&M mill or something like that, he should be able to duplicate it pretty easy. I, for sampling, wouldn't worry too much about the output screen. They wear out real quick and everything. I would just have a closed chamber, so you put in so many pounds of material, beat it to a pulp, open the chamber, and like that. You might, because the K&M has a bearing on the cover also, so you might want to have like a hatch or something like that, a clean out hatch, so that you don't have to go through that much trouble. Yeah. Just look up K&M Crusher. It doesn't have the specs. But it's an impact mill. And basically You have a round housing. Yeah, just heavy gauge steel works pretty good. Piece of 12-inch pipe should be fine. You have a shaft. Got a couple tabs welded onto it. Then you attach short pieces of chain. Shaft. Okay. And it just spins. And you have a thing up here where you drop your ore. A lot of times, to prevent it from coming back up, they sometimes like to have it like this. So if something gets hit, they can't just fly back out the end. Okay? They will make a lot of dust. You want to make sure you wear a dust protector. Okay? In terms of this, if you're going to have something fabricated, I'd start by figuring out where you got a piece of steel pipe somewhere that you can cut out of it. Drill motor is not going to work on the K&M crusher. It's too
Ricky
big.
says he had a small 3-stamp mill and you could run a half a ton to a ton a day. It was great for this.
Yeah, that's not bad. I think the K&M usually comes with a little, what is it, about a 1 horsepower or 1.5 horsepower gas engine. And you'd have your gas engine here, your shaft, belt drive, then your crusher here. The belt drive comes in handy for preventing shock from damaging your engine. You know? I don't know if irrigation pipe is usually going to be heavy gauge steel. More like well casing or something like that would be really good for that. Another thing you can use, and this is kind of cool, get yourself a brake drum from a big truck. Not necessarily a semi truck, like my old 76 Chevy. Got a brake drum. What is it? It's a big solid steel cylinder, the heavy trim there. And it doesn't cost, I don't know, you can probably go to the junkyard and get it for $10 each. No, propane tank's too thin, Sarah.
You need thick, heavy, clunky things.
You're probably looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 to 2,000 RPM on the impact mill shaft. Brake drum, yeah. Just a truck brake drum.
They're nice and thick.
They're
and
cheap.
Heavy.
They're heavy gauge here where you need it. And everything else is simple to modify. No big deal. But yeah, in the 1,000 to 2,000 RPM range, generally what I've seen on the K&M crushers is you got 2 pulleys the same size on your engine. Your engine and your impact mill chamber shaft, 2 pulleys the same size. Okay, so I think those little engines generally run in the 1,000 to 2,000 RPM range. But that's it, just a horizontal shaft engine. And if you had one laying around and wanted to use it and didn't need the portability, a 0.5 horsepower, 1 horsepower electric motor would probably work fine too. Fine, David. I understand. I say the thing that I liked about brake drums is you can get them duplicated. They're the same thing, and you can buy one and then another and then another, whatever you need. So
David says he's got a propane tank with an inner liner to sacrifice
Yeah.
him.
I say if your boyfriend is a good fabricator, that's an easy chamber to make. But get something that's easy to get another one. Sooner or later, this chamber will wear out. Okay. What you're doing right now, you might not ever wear it out. But if you start going to small production, you may
Yeah, and David.
you may wear it out, and therefore it would be best to have something you can just go buy another one. You don't have to build everything else again. You could probably take a plate here, just bolt the drum to it. Just make sure you don't wear these bolt heads off. Replace them as needed. Really? Cool, Jean-Francois. 3 horsepower, 5.6 diesel engines. I am guessing they're made in China. That's not necessarily bad. If you're looking for top quality, like a Honda, but are you going to be running it 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for years? If you're only going to be running it intermittently, why not something cheap? I mean, I personally like the idea of going over to Harbor Freight, buying an engine, getting the extended warranty, and after a couple of years, by the time you worn it out, turn it in before the warranty expires, get a new engine, buy a new warranty, back in business. Yeah, exactly, honey bunny. I say, a brake drum is a nice, simple housing. Yeah, Jean-Francois. It's also in many ways a simpler engine. You just have to be careful about your fuel, but that shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, sir, Sarah, I have something I call a bob mill, which stands for bow and ore buster, and mine's 6 inches deep, about 20 inches across the chamber, and it does well. You can look at some videos showing Eva crushing 200 pounds an hour, and it's designed to blow the material out so that it goes to the next stage of the process without a problem. With any luck, I'll be working on a bigger model by fall. The guys down in Central America, they may come in real handy for those guys. So it's just one of those things that I'm hoping to get. It'd be nice to get 1,000 pounds an hour at 90% passing 80 mesh. And it feeds itself, it blows the stuff out and goes to the next stage. We'll see what happens. Yep. Well, after all, what is a blower but a shaft? In my case, in the bob, a paddle wheel here. There's your outlet. Inlet is there. So you have an opening near the shaft, the outlet at the perimeter. You got a blower. It's not that hard. And this has wear parts and stuff. I mean, the wear parts on the bob mill pretty much have to be resurfaced like every ton. But again, it's specifically designed so that a couple beads of hard facing and you're back in business. So, I say that's the basic concept. One of the problems with turning big rocks into small rocks is wear. especially when you're dealing with gold. You've got quartz. Quartz is so hard that it wears stuff. Sorry, Brian, it lifts the heavy stuff too. I mean, the coarser stuff, yeah, they'll go back down. But yeah, it's surprisingly little gold gets collected in the housing here. I'm quite surprised. I can't tell at this point, Sarah. It's worth more investigation. Let me take a look at what the pan results are, see if there's any gold. The fact that you have sulfides does not mean you have gold. Okay? It's a good indication you had hydrothermal solutions depositing minerals. But if there wasn't gold in the solution, you're not going to get any gold. If you don't have enough gold in the rock, it's not profitable. If you don't have enough rock, it's not profitable. And so
this is why assays are so important.
It takes the combination of grade, volume, and cost of getting it out. This is why open pit mines tend to be a lot more popular, because underground mining is a lot more expensive. Now, are you familiar with my economics calculator, Sarah? Because I did years ago, me and Joachim, a friend of mine who moved back to Sweden, we developed, he did the programming, I did the math, a calculator to calculate the economics of a mining project. Okay? So you can put in certain variables such as how wide is the vein, how long is the vein, how tall is the vein, what's the ore grade, how many tons of waste do you have to move to get how many tons of ore, what's your estimated processing cost, what's your estimated mining cost per ton, etc. And then it does all the math for you and gives you, this is what should happen. Are you familiar with that? Because if you're not, it's a very handy tool to use. And what I found it most useful for was learning how to gauge the economics. It's more of a spreadsheet. Yeah. Of course it does. So you have to use averages and rough estimates.
Sampling and testing are always going to be your best bet.
Yeah, and you also, especially a small miner, you need to build a lot of cushion in it. Okay? You never say, well, I should be able to make 10% profits. Nah, you're not. It's always more complicated than it looks to someone who's never done it before.
Well, I would make a case that for the micro scale miner, especially when you're first starting out, the biggest chunk of your budget should not have anything to do with equipment. It should have everything to do with sampling and assay.
Yeah, that's the important thing, Sarah. But to know whether or not it's valuable, you have to be able to do these calculations. Little one, how hard is it to get to the internet? And I have the link there.
We can probably email it to her. I don't know how to get the link.
Sarah, the safest thing would be to email me a letter asking for that link, and I will get it to you.
Yeah.
So you can access that, and that it's a very, very helpful tool to figure out exactly what you're asking there.
Yeah, because really, I would say the biggest part of your budget and time should be spent sampling and assaying.
Yeah,
initially. You do anything else.
Exactly.
Because you don't know what the hell you're.
Okay, no, I'm not. I'm not sure what the no, I'm not is about.
The only thing is, it doesn't have the 3 tiers already. It will. I have to open it and make it stable again.
I think it's got 3 levels. She means.
Yeah.
Yeah. My train of thought just got derailed. It's a horrible crash. My mind is able to, there was something I was thinking that, oh yeah, assaying also. You're going to need to spend some money on assaying
Important than any
because I can get ideas of what the gold is in the rock by panning, but depending on the gold, it can look substantially different. For example, Montana B, 80% of the gold is essentially invisible. I mean, it's a quarter the size of talcum powder, and it doesn't even settle in a still bucket. So, you know, you'd have to use different extraction techniques too. But nevertheless, to get good numbers, you have to do some assaying. And uh, Lawrence Hiddle seems to do a pretty good job. The his cost is, you know, if you send him a small sample of crushed rock, it's going to be $45. If you send him a small sample of pulverized material, it's $35, and he gets your assays back in about a week. We've cross-checked him against other labs and stuff, and he seems to do a pretty reliable job. But that's important, especially at the early stages. So you get, okay. So yeah, I say, do you have my email? If you do, I mean it's at the beginning of every video I've got. hardrocku@outlook.com. They say just send me an email to say, hey, where's that calculator link, and I'll send it to you. But that comes in real handy. Then you're going to need to do proper sampling and get some assays. Then if it looks potentially profitable with a reasonable safety margin in there, then you start doing some more thorough testing as to how you are actually going to get the gold out of the rock. Your ideal situation is you crush it fine and run it over gravity separation, and you get most of the gold. Okay? That's ideal. It's not necessarily true. Top of the hill, better than 50% comes out gravity. Montana B, maybe 20% comes out gravity. 80% is thrown away. That's why you go leaching. Every ore is different. You cannot apply general rules of thumb to rock. It laughs at you and tries to screw you up every time it can. So you simply have to do the testing to determine what works, how well, what is your recovery percentage, what are your costs, what are your consumables, whether your particular ore is compatible with a particular technique. These things you always do at a real small scale first, so that it's not terribly expensive. And then if the preliminary results, okay, you want to type in my email address, little one? Okay, Eva's going to type in my email address. And then you take those results and extrapolate them. And this is where you need the safety margin, because that extrapolation is not going to work extremely reliably in every situation. Sometimes it's going to be substantially off. When you scale up, things change. Okay? You know, things like a little model airplane, square cube ratios and stuff like that change when you get like a real sized airplane. So, yeah, right now, let's say if you can do gravity, by far it's the simplest, cheapest way to go if it works. Don't even worry about anything else until after you've tested the gravity. And when you do that, you take a sample, you crush it, you split off a portion of it to send to the assay lab. You do your gravity separation, you measure the gold you recovered, and you send off a sample of your tailings to the assay lab to see what you missed. Now, you're always going to miss something. You never get 100%. If you get 90%, you're doing really good. If you're going gravity only and you're getting 70%, that's not bad. And unless you got a rich ore, probably going after the other 30% chemically, not necessarily going to make a lot of sense unless you got a lot of tonnage or real high grade or something like that. Okay. I mean, if your ore is running 30 ounces to the ton, yeah, 70% recovery would suck. You know, that would be, you know, what? You're still throwing away, well, 0.3 times 20. About 6 ounces per ton you'd be throwing away. Not good. If, on the other hand, it's 1 ounce to the ton, and you're throwing 0.3 of an ounce to the ton away, not necessarily that bad. Exactly, David. That's one reason I like to go into details. Never know who's watching. We have at least a couple new people tonight. They may still be here. They may not. I don't know. But the more people that understand the basics, the fewer people make basic mistakes that can get really expensive. So, yeah, exactly. So, anyhow, that's the basic process when you've got a project or a potential project. First of all, establish mineral rights. Okay, claim it, make a deal with the owner, whatever. Go in there, sample, test, see if there seems to be enough rock of a sufficient grade to potentially turn a profit. That's where my calculator comes in handy. And the general rule of thumb I use is, for a small micro scale producer, 1 ounce to the ton, 1 foot wide, or a ½ ounce to the ton, 2 foot wide, will usually turn a profit if it's consistent. Okay? Anything less than that, you better start crunching some numbers before you get too excited about things. You know, you just, you know, say, if I got something that wide that's running 1 ounce to the ton consistently, I'm assuming it's going to be profitable unless there's some other substantially complicating factor. Okay. 2 foot wide, ½ ounce to the ton, probably about the same thing. Get down to a 1/4 ounce to the ton, it starts getting a little iffy if you're underground. On the other hand, if you're trenching on surface, hey, that's not a problem. You know, you can get an excavator, go down 15 feet, hundreds of feet of trench. Yeah, we can probably make that work. Yep, I agree, honey bunny. Let's see. Every ore is different, and you just have to test. So that's how it works generally, Sarah. The rocks that you've sent me are interesting looking rocks. Can't tell how much gold is in them. I'm going to be crushing some up and panning it down. That's, say, when you pan it down, you get the heavies. You get your sulfides, your iron oxides, almost every interesting mineral, your tungsten, your lead, and your sulfides, all that stuff concentrates by panning. And then once you've got it panned down, you can get a better idea of what's in the rock. It's a lot easier than trying to see it in the rock, especially gold.
You almost never see gold in the rock.
Yeah, except for specimens that we've been shown by people that are like, wow, that's some really good looking rock. I don't think I've ever seen golden rock.
Yeah. We did see those gorgeous specimens of the gold nuggets on crystals.
Oh yeah, yeah, you see it,
And I don't
but
like
not
gold, but
not.
boy, that was some pretty
You usually
stuff.
don't find it in the wild. Take care, Jean-Francois. Hope everything's going well. So anyhow, that's kind of the situation. Looking at the rocks is of limited utility unless you're a geologist and can therefore infer what processes were involved in making those rocks. I am not a geologist. I know some geology.
But this is also another good reason to join your local TPAA or your local rockhound club, because they probably are familiar with the ore bodies in the area and they can tell you.
Yeah. So, yeah, and as you get in the business, if you deal with a bunch of other people, you're going to pick up stuff by osmosis. If you're really interested in this and you've got a community college or something like that, and you want to take some classes in geology, mineralogy, they will be quite helpful. You know, depends on your budget, both money and time, and your interests. I would love to spend winters here just going to class. There's so much I need to know. But anyhow, that's the basic situation. And
Yeah.
I got something here that I don't know if it'll show. Yeah, it shows. That's the gold from that mine down there in Central America. That gives you an idea, Sarah, how fine your regular hard rock gold is.
Yeah.
It's pretty small.
Yeah, I was surprised at how coarse stuff are.
Yeah,
That was some chunky.
that stuff that I panned out from this latest
Yeah.
trip. That's some chunky stuff.
Visible structure.
Yeah, and it was all there wasn't real fine stuff in there.
Yeah, I know.
Really?
I kind of wondered about that. What I found interesting was the visible structure.
Uh-huh. Well, that was the best pan, by the way, that I brought back. That was the best one.
And that was my hand grab up at that.
Yeah, hand grab the upper trench. Yep. No, hand grab 1. Hand grab 2 was only about a 0.05. Okay. So, anyhow, that's what I can say at this time, Sarah. And I'll see about getting some of this crushed and panned, get some pictures of that so that we can do that on the next live stream. So I'm sure we've been pretty helpful. Another thing that comes in real handy, Sarah, is a small pen microscope. Yeah.
And
Right
watching
there.
the videos that he put up about taking representative samples over and over and over again.
Yeah, that pen microscope is a 40 power microscope, and it has a reticle in it, so you can look at whatever you're looking at and measure it to the thousandth of an inch. Just like holding a ruler up next to it. So it's pretty handy.
Speaking of a ruler, you didn't show him that scat, did you?
But the Musca, that was the opening picture on the video.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Nobody has commented on the moose.
No, not that I've seen. Rock Butcher said it was a fairly small one.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me, but all I said about it is I just want it in my freezer.
Yeah. I say they
Never mind the poop, I want it in my freezer. And the hide on that puppy.
Okay, Chris. Yeah, it can get kind of annoying at times, Sarah. I presume you're using jet dry or something like that in your water. It's pretty important. Your pyrites are going to tend to float. So if you have stuff that's really floaty, it might be pyrites. Be careful. You want to go get Monty?
No,
Yesterday. What does he care?
it's hydrate. He's not one.
Well, go check.
No, I did like it. I looked at that scan.
Yeah. Well, I was surprised at how much there was there, but
Oh,
yeah, according to the locals, there are a fair amount of moose over there. So that'd be cool. That they only have 2 tickets a year over there, little one.
oh, bummer.
And the only gun I got that I'd try on that moose, on a moose, would be the M1 Garand. As I've modified it to take modern hunting cartridges, you could use hollow points on that properly. But yeah, that's kind of light for a moose. Not bad, not horrible. A lot of moose have been taken on with 30-06, but it's kind of at the bottom end.
Well, all I have to say is last year you proved to be a lousy return on the investment of the Ultimate Sportsman's Package license because you didn't do Jack's
I
Chick.
haven't bought one this year either. Yep. So, yeah. We had an M1 Garand, but you can't use standard, modern hunting ammunition in a standard M1 Garand, but they do make a little adapter plug that goes in the end of the gas cylinder that allows you to use standard ammunition safely.
Well, all I know is I want one of those in my.
Anyhow,
And then I figured
I've never seen so much moose scat in any one place.
tan the hide. Well, if they've only got 2 tags a year, and with all that bottomland on that creek down below there, I mean that bottomland is moose heaven. Looking at that, and I'm like, oh yeah.
Well, and you need to, with a flotation cell, Chris, don't you also need steady throughput and like that? I mean, they're basically designed to work in a very particular set of parameters, and they're not as forgiving as other methods. To a great extent, you're correct, Brian. On the other hand, if it's large enough to gravity, why leech? So it's different things for different horse. But I say that's about it for this week. Eva's quite the trooper. She was hurting by the end of that day, but she didn't even want me to take her pack to lighten the load for her. Even though her feet were hurting pretty good. It tends when she's heading downhill at a fairly steep grade, that her toes get jammed in the ends of the shoes. So she was a hurting girl, but she wasn't whining, you know. That's not a bad setup for a lot of ores, Ricky. Yeah. Although I'm kind of interested in the thiosulfate leaching too, because it's faster. It's also non-toxic, so if you've got high enough grades to make the extra cost worthwhile, you can avoid some regulatory issues potentially. We shall see what we shall see. Again, these people down in Central America, they should be sending me some samples and funding a little research on that, and we'll go from there. What time is it? 7:30, huh? So, anyone got any questions or anything at this point? Glycine is another useful chemistry potentially for bottle rolling and stuff. Where you got small batches of really high grade stuff, that's another possibility I'm going to look at for the roasted concentrates from down south. But the only negative to the glycine that I see is if you try to do it like more in a pad leach or something like that, it might become more problematic, where you got a lot of bugs and stuff that are trying to eat it. So I just don't know. But I think they both have potential at this stage of the research. And I've got all the stuff for the glycine. I don't have the stuff for the thiosulfate at this point. But again, they're supposed to fund all this stuff. Well, also permitting. For example, the stuff we were looking at this weekend, to build an access road and stuff and clear the existing roads, etc., would take a few days' work with a mini excavator, 1 day's work with a D6 with a 6-way blade. But permitting. I'm sure the Forest Service is really going to be interested in the idea of building a new road. We don't have an access road to the existing road.
Which is kind of why I was saying if we knew somebody with mules.
Yeah.
They couldn't
But
say
again,
words about mules.
Yeah, but again, you're just talking about exploration right now. You're not going to get production with mules.
The old timers.
Yeah, the old timers managed to live on beans and rice and $40 a year. You know.
Oh, so now you're insinuating that you couldn't run a mine with mules anymore.
You could
Talk
if it
to
was
all
rich
those
enough.
people down in
You could make a lot more money without using mules.
Talk to all those people down in Central America that are still using rastras.
Yeah, with motorcycle engines.
Oh, you bet there are probably people that are more
Nope.
than that.
Nope.
Oh, I'm saying right.
They're cheaper than mules. Mules are not cheap, you know?
Well, no, they're expensive for some bizarre reason, considering how misbegotten they are.
Yeah. Let's say, I don't know
Mules are misbegotten creatures. We all know.
Yeah. So, it depends to a great extent on the attitude of the regulators as to what becomes, sure, no problem, versus, oh, hell no.
Well, unfortunately,
I don't know.
Forest Service.
So
everything is oh hell no.
Yeah, but there's other stuff real close by that's developed, so therefore it might be a lot easier. Also, that other guy with the other stuff nearby, I got to talk to him and see about how much, if we could get the permits, how much would he charge to basically do the work for us with his equipment, that sort of thing. And so, I don't know. I see big changes coming. We'll see what form those changes take. If they become a lot easier to get permits, then it'd be a good time to get permits if nothing else. But technically, even just a little mini excavator, not a micro one, but a mini one like Lauren has, he could probably build all the roads we need in a day, and then just clear out the other stuff in another day, and just dress it up, that sort of stuff. He's looking at having a fun day tomorrow because it's supposed to be high winds and
high winds and rain. Thunder.
Yeah, and he may have to be clearing roads for the drill crews so they can change shifts and stuff. You know?
Yeah. I'm gonna be up there trying to do all these hundreds.
Exactly, Ricky. You have to be a multi-talented person to do it all yourself. Yeah, I say it would do it fine. I mean, I'm not sure how fast a mini excavator would build the road we need, but we're looking at 1,000 feet roughly. The grade, is 15% uphill. That's pretty steep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not bad for a quad or something, or even a 4x4.
Well, it
Yeah.
certainly was no fun walking it coming down.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
That's all I gotta say about that.
so, a road big enough for a pickup truck or something like that, 100 feet in 3 days. Oh, I think you could do it a lot faster. I'm thinking I like a D6, Chris, because about the biggest thing you can load on a single trailer without wide load signs and stuff. A D6 with a 6-way blade got a lot more power than a D4, you know? Yeah, Ricky,
Well,
that can happen. Exactly.
At least we can clear out a lot of the pickup sticks where we want to go because we have our permit for firewood.
In the particular area that we're looking to potentially build a path in the future, it's all small trees. It's been cleared sometime in the past. There's hardly a tree there over what, 6 inches?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm just
That'd be
saying
pretty
that
easy.
gives us an ironclad 12 cores of that shit, and they don't even check to see how much you actually do.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you're now moving your road at the rate of 100 feet a day instead of 1,000 feet a day. It's not worth it. You take the trees and just throw them off to the side. If you want to come back later and pick them up, that's fine.
I understand that, but I'm saying, absent having to deal with permit.
Yeah. Well, the only problem with the track loader, Honey Bunny, is it doesn't have a blade tilt or a blade angle. And so when you're cutting side hill cuts, you have to pick up a scoop and dump it, pick it up and dump it, and like that, or use it just with the blade with the bucket bottom up and out of the way, and just use it like a blade. But you're doing a lot of hooking that way. With a 6-way blade, it's you just angle that blade, dip the front a little bit, and drive. And say, yeah, exactly. A backhoe loader, a small excavator, something like that would work fine. The small excavator would probably go faster than a backhoe loader, but depends on how much they cost and everything. But I'm just looking at the Forest Service and saying, I don't know if they're even going to go for it. We need to find something good that justifies trying to get to it with a new road. Oh, really? Honey Bunny, must be some new ones. Yep. But again, there's a lot of tools that can do that job. Again, there's a guy right there. I mean, he's got a big excavator. And he might yeah, sure, I'll build your road. I go from here to there for X number of dollars. Okay, go for it. Got the permits. we'll see. That would also come in handy for checking out, for opening up adits and things like that, because he's right there. It wouldn't even think of putting a truck in there. You just tram it. It's real close. So, that's it. Whatever. But first we have to find something that justifies that kind of potential effort before you even consider putting forth the effort. And around here, my guess is if you wanted to do something like that, you'd put in for the permit this summer, and if you're lucky, you'll get it by next summer.
Yeah.
Just a guess. But we shall see. But anyhow, we got to go out there. We got to find some rock that's got gold in it. Cool, honey bunny. Yeah, you'd want a ripper too if you had a dozer for sure. And you'd want either a triple or a double. A single, again, to grip the uphill side, a single ripper doesn't work too well. You're doing a lot of backing, cranking it, sinking the ripper in back, crank, and doing a lot of real short rips as opposed to just sinking it and driving. I would imagine most of this stuff's probably soft enough you could put either a double or a triple and just drive, So, shouldn't be too much. Again, I'm not looking at being technically terribly difficult, but we're going to have to find something that justifies it first.
Yeah.
And so, we got a lot of hiking to do, quicks now and then.
Long as you get paid for it.
So, anyhow, that's
Oh,
basically,
yeah.
we also got to see what comes back from that lab test of Montana Bee. May turn out we're just like, no, buy a new generator.
Well,
and start going back down there.
My intuition is still saying
And test. I know. We'll get to it when we get to it. I mean, I don't have a problem with that at all. I don't know, Ricky. We're pretty well stocked up right now, which is good.
Except for silver. We need much more silver.
Yeah, anyone want to send us a couple kilos for the hell of it? I'm sure she'd be happy. I haven't heard anything from Central America. They've been kind of busy.
Eating game cheats.
Anyhow, anyone got any questions, suggestions, or subjects to bring up here? I want to thank everyone for showing up, and thanks Sarah for the questions and such.
The rocks. The rocks are always appreciated. Everybody is welcome to mail rocks.
I will see about
and donations. And frozen pinkies. Frozen small pinkies.
mice. Yeah, for her new pet. Exactly.
The mouse pinky, the littlest.
Needs to be kind of picky.
Yeah, he is. I don't want him to go on a hunger strike. He's lost weight.
He's lost 7 grams.
Well, when you only weigh 153 grams to begin with, that's a lot. You don't get it. That's not good.
They just shed it. Takes time to. They do a cyclical thingy.
I'm just hoping.
A mating phase.
Well, we're 80% sure he's a male. But if he's a female, when they're in the period where they want to mate, they will go on a hunger strike.
Huh.
And since he or she is losing weight, no, that's not a good. Not unusual.
Chris says, make sure it's Pinky, not the brain. So that's the thing with the A10 retirement, huh, Honey Bunny? Yeah, you need close air support if you're going to be, well, doing anything warfare. No, Epstein is dead, but he didn't kill himself. Yeah.
Or if he did kill himself, he killed himself because the alternative was a lot worse.
Yeah.
I mean, it is quite possible somebody was standing there in the doorway with an axe or a gun trained on him, pointing out that it would be a good idea for him to hang himself.
I don't know.
All kinds of stuff's possible.
Strange stuff going on.
Many things are weird.
We shall see what happens, but it's pretty good for the price of gold and silver right now, I suspect.
Oh, both gold and silver are still on sale. If you have not backed up the truck, y'all are missing out. We are missing out because certain.
So anyhow, I don't see anything new there. As I say, I want to thank everyone for showing up. Thanks, Sarah, for the good questions. And I guess
the rocks.
And the rocks. And I guess we will call it a week. And yep, important job, Honey Bunny. Well, that would be interesting, Honey Bunny. Little one.
Oh, that would be even more interesting.
That would be quite fascinating.
I'm waiting to see if Ghislaine actually does go talk to Congress.
Yeah, bromine will also leach too, Ricky. Again, a lot of these things work fine for small quantities.
Halides will leach too.
Yeah, well, bromine is a halide.
Chlorine.
Yeah. Take care, Red Wing. That's some nice coarse gold you had there.
Yeah, Red Wing stuff is pretty.
Yeah. So, happy prospecting and keep it safe out there.